in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verses 1 to 5. So, my dear brothers and sisters, we continue to remain in the Sermon on the Mount, chapters 5, 6, and 7. We have now begun the last section of the Sermon on the Mount. By this week, we will complete it. On Wednesday, we celebrate the birth of St. John the Baptist. There will be a little break in the text, but in the next few days, we will complete the Sermon on the Mount and begin chapter 8. Chapter 8 and 9 will have 10 miracle stories, and then chapter 10 is the second discourse, which we heard part of it yesterday at Sunday Mass. We are, as I said, in the Sermon on the Mount. This text, my dear brothers and sisters, is one of those texts that can go horribly wrong if we do not read the text within its context, because some of the sayings of Jesus today are, "Judge not and you will not be judged." And then he says, "Why do you look at the splinter in your brother's eye when there's a plank in your own?" So if we don't understand the context of these texts, then we will as well just throw these lines and use them to our advantage. Yeah? As I'm going to tell you, it's impossible not to judge. You may call it an evaluation or a criticism or whatever, but it is practically impossible for anybody not to judge. So what's the context? And that helps us very much. So we are, as I said, the focus of the Sermon on the Mount. The Sermon on the Mount is very purpose-driven. Jesus is very clear why he is preaching this very long homily, because he doesn't want his disciples to be like the Pharisees and the scribes. He is making this very clear. We heard this in the hypothesis. You've heard it said, but I say to you. Clearly Jesus is saying, I don't want you to walk the way of the Pharisees and the scribes. Why? Because instead of being righteous, they were being self-righteous. Now this is the clue to help us understanding this text. They were being self-righteous. And Jesus will keep hammering this point to us. I want you to be righteous. Now, being righteous does not deprive you of passing a judgment. There's a difference between a judgment and being judgmental. And that's the problem with the scribes, because they were really being judgmental. And based on what? So as you know, and as I've been saying to you, for 400 years before Jesus was born, there were no prophets. And it is these scribes and Pharisees who now become the interpreters of the law. But not only interpreters, they also began to become judges. What kind? What people could do, what people could not do, what was permitted, what was not permitted. And based on what? Ironically, their judgments were not based on the law. We saw this in the hypothesis. Jesus clearly telling us that they have misinterpreted. So they have begun now passing judgments on the basis of human tradition, not on the basis of God's law. Now you'll get the idea why Jesus is saying, judge not. Because the very people who are judging have misinterpreted the law. Therefore, their judgments are flawed. I hope you're getting the drift of what I'm saying. Jesus is looking at the people who are making the judgment, not merely at the judgment in itself. And these judgments were based on not the law of God, but on human traditions. Therefore, they were being judgmental rather than giving an honest judgment. So, as I said earlier, humanly speaking, it is impossible for anybody to say, I have never judged anyone. Whatever you may call it. You may call it a criticism or an evaluation or give it a nice term. Yeah, we are sitting down to a happy annual program by which we will review things. Even a review is a judgment. Everything is a judgment. It's judging. So, it is humanly impossible for somebody not to judge. So what does Jesus really mean when he says do not judge? As I said, principally, who is he addressing? Not everybody. Here he was principally, the text in context, he is principally addressing the scribes and the Pharisees. And they, as I said, usurped the right to become everybody's conscience and everybody's censor. So this group now has become the group that practically became the Mr. Know-it-alls. Here's the key, and listen to this. In doing so, Jesus is now reminding his disciples, in telling us not to judge, what is Jesus reminding his disciples? He's saying to us, look, you also judge, you also review, you also, whatever other word, evaluate, you also do it. But, and here's the big but, if you start becoming self-righteous, if your judgments are biased, if your judgments are based on your human tradition, then you could walk the same way as the Pharisees. And that is what Jesus is really hammering. He's not saying don't judge. He's saying careful what you are doing, because if you walk the same way, and many of us very often look at the worst examples of life and we say, but they are doing it. And I always say, but they are allowed to do it because they are silly. Why do you want to follow the worst example in life? Why can't we always follow the best examples in life? Don't always use the worst example. Little children, but my sister did it or my brother did it. So why do you want to do it? This is what we would tell children. And Jesus is reminding us of the same thing. So definitively, judgment of God belongs to God alone. Because only God can see our hearts. Only God knows what's really going on in our hearts. Let me give you an example of this. You know, when I first came to this parish, I realized that we were giving people 200 rupees as monthly aid, 200, 250 of that amount. And when we started reviewing this process, quite a few people who ran the show, as it were, ran the show as I called it, started getting their feathers very unruffled because they felt they were in control of it. I don't know, I feel very sorry sometimes for the way we treat the poor. Very condescendingly. I remember one young man telling me that when they were really struggling through life, he hated going to collect even the ration that was given by the church because of the way in which it was given. They were treated with so much of disrespect. But coming to the point I was making about, and this should not be taken and applied universally to all the SVPs, but to particular people in the groups who do this. And I remember when reviewing certain families and saying, why can't we give them more? One gentleman said to me, he said, oh father, he said, but they have a refrigerator in their house and they have a TV. So I said, so what? Only the rich are allowed to have refrigerators and TVs and the poor have to be deprived of it? Let me give another example. That same year at Christmas, we gave them large hampers. And I made a mistake the first year because in the hamper, I put dal and rice. And I then thought, how can we give them dal on Christmas Day? Why don't we give them some better items? But one of the things I did was I gave them cash, I think, of 500 the first year. And then we increased it. And one gentleman came up to me and said, Father, if you give them cash, they will use that money to go and drink on Christmas Day. And I looked at him and I said, don't you have a drink on Christmas Day? Because I do have a drink on Christmas Day. I mean, are the poor not allowed to have a drink on Christmas Day? Or are you simply assuming that they are going to get drunk? So you see, this is what I mean. God wants us to be righteous, not self-righteous. If you're having a drink on Christmas Day, why should the poor not have it? Yeah, because they are poor. Because they are poor, they have to be given dal and rice. I don't get this mentality. And this is what Jesus is fighting. These are called human traditions. They are not based on God's law. So now do you get the meaning of what Jesus is really saying when he says, I don't want you to judge? What he means is, what is your evaluation of judgment? Is it coming from righteousness or is it coming from an attitude of self-righteousness? So herein lies the path of salvation for all Christians, where Jesus really wants us to train our eye. What is it that you see? What have you trained your eye to see? You know, we have that famous saying, all that glitters is not gold. Because you see somebody very well dressed in the parish, it doesn't mean that they're doing very well. And because you see a simpleton dressed very ordinarily, yeah, it doesn't mean that that person has no worth or value. These are judgments that we have allowed ourselves to make based on social norms. On social norms. Yes? On what basis do we determine that a wedding is a grand wedding? Just think about it. Think about it. The answer is on the amount of money spent. Is that an evaluation? And we say this, we judge a program very often not by what has it done to the families. Is there love? Was there bonding? A successful program in the parish. What is it judged on? Its amount of glamour and what kind of snacks were served. But did the parish community become any better? Did they become any more loving? Did that meal bring them together, or after that we had another fight in the parish council? That is what Jesus is really asking us to evaluate. So judgment should never be based on externals, and Jesus is saying this. If we train our eye only to see what we want to see, then we have trained our eyes badly. Now, I want to share one more thing, and this is more from a very personal example. If you also train your eye to see negativity, then you can't see positivity. And I'm not saying that I practice this, I'm saying that I struggle with it. Because I'm a person who's a perfectionist. I think you can see it in every celebration of the Eucharist. In everything in my life, I always have plan B, C, D, and E. And for everything, I would like things to be done perfectly. This is who I am. The disadvantage of all the perfectionists in this world is that we can find mistakes faster than we can find good things. Yeah? You give me an excellently well laid out table, and within 30 seconds I'll point out 3 mistakes. This is the tragedy of people like me. But we train ourselves. Now ask yourself this. Have you also trained yourself only to see negativity? So my spiritual journey has also been the struggle to see good things in people. Good things in, even sometimes when I don't like something, can I at least force myself, and I do this, can I force myself to see force? Because it's a habit made. Yeah? You know, I learned something very beautiful from Bishop Agnello, Gracious. I wrote an article once about this. It's there on my blog. Where, you know, Bishop Agnello Gracious, all of you know him, today is in Jalandhar, almost touching 80 years, still running a diocese. And whenever you met Bishop Agnello, he was my rector, I was his secretary for a while in the seminary. And whenever you met him, he would always say, good, 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 nice, 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 good, 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 nice. And we would make fun of him, you know. We would also say, good, 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 nice, nice, nice. We would make fun of him. Till it struck me one day that Bishop Agnello always saw life as good. Why? Because he had trained himself to say it. He had trained. Over a period of time, because he kept saying good, good, he couldn't say bad, bad. Now, that must have been a great journey for him, a great spiritual journey for him. What we saw as something very funny, I remember once, this is true, I mean, he had got so used to saying good, good, that one day one seminarian came to him and said, Father, my daddy is very sick, and he said, good, good, good. And we all started, you know, we didn't know what to do. But the point being that his whole heart was filled with goodness. And if ever you meet Bishop Agnello, you will see as a person, his life is full of goodness. So what are we training our eyes to see? Because this is something that I struggle with. And if the cap suits you, please wear it and own it, because this is how we actually transform and change our lives. So also to be able to look at our own failings. And this is what Jesus means. He says, don't keep looking for the speck in your brother's eye, because there just could be a plank in your own. And dear brothers and sisters, I invite you to pray over this, because it's not easy. Yeah, I very often like to share my own struggles with you, because I don't want you to get the impression that there are perfect Christians running around. Nobody is perfect, even the Holy Father is not. But every day, if we can just strive, yeah, I can't tell you how difficult today to even preach this homily is. It's an extremely difficult thing for me to even talk about, admit, speak with my own failings, my own struggles in this area of life. But what Jesus wants us to constantly be is righteous in his eyes. And always ask yourself, is my comment, is my judgment, is my evaluation, is my review coming from a sense of righteousness or self-righteousness? Am I a follower of Jesus or am I a disciple of the Pharisees?